Hi friends, welcome back. In today's video, I'm going to do an update on how things are going so far in my home and garden, my meal planner, and my health and wellness Hobonichi Weeks trifecta. And I'm also going to be sharing some details around my 1,000 subscriber celebration that I have decided I want to do for the month of February. So if any of that sounds interesting for you, I hope you'll stick around and let's get into it. So this is actually the second time that I am filming this video. I started earlier today and it was a little brighter outside, but I had a few interruptions and I am starting over again. Earlier in the day, I had a cozy beverage. Now, just being real, I have a grapefruit flavored sparkling water out of a can. And to keep things cozy, I have lit a candle that was gifted to me earlier this year. It is in a coconut shell and it smells amazing. Feel free to grab a tea or a coffee or your favorite beverage. Do what you need to do to get cozy. I will try my best as always to not chat for too long. But if you are new here, I do tend to be a little bit chatty, so I always add bookmarks in the description in case there is a certain section that you would like to skip around to. Let's get into it. I will start with my health and wellness planner, which I currently house in my traveler's notebook. I really like how compact this is. I like the size of the weeks on their own, but I am currently using a traveler's notebook insert for my daily to-do list, which I had experimented very briefly in using my Hobonichi cousin as my everything work-related planner, but I've been filling up the pages in the Hobonichi cousin. I don't have any room to do to-do lists there. I briefly tried to fit them into the weekly overview, but it just got too busy and I wasn't using it. So for now, I am going to stick with continuing to use this traveler's notebook insert as a place that lists everything that I need to do for the day, whether that is for school, whether that is for consulting work, things around the house, you get it. So inside, I have a craft folder. This is a TN craft folder. And I just slide my Hobonichi right into the right flap. And I do this simply because it allows me to see this adorable cover as soon as I open up my traveler's notebook. And I'll show you really quickly the other two inserts that I have here. This one is a blank insert from Galen Leather. I will say that the paper is lovely and, you know, I do like writing in it, but I really do wish that it had a dot grid or line. I have been making do with this Traveler's Town pencil board and it's working fine, but it would make my life easier if it had some lines already built into it. So in the spirit of using what I already purchased, I'm using it, but when I'm finished with these inserts, I probably won't buy them again. So as I mentioned, this is mainly a place where I just write down everything that I need to do. I usually, I can't really show you a page because it's got a lot of confidential information, but usually what I do is at the beginning of the week, I will list down some major things that need to happen for that week up here. And then I will fill out each day with the things that I want to accomplish. And what I like about this approach is because I have so many things going on, I like that this is something that I can do to calm down a little bit before the chaos of the day starts. So either I fill out and plan everything that I want to get accomplished the next day, the night before. So I'll take a look at any meetings I have, and I'll look at what I didn't finish the current day, and then I'll add it to the next day. Or as soon as I sit down at my desk first thing in the morning, I will usually fill out my health and wellness tracker, and then I will open this up and write down everything I need to do today. And even if I don't get all of those things done, the act of just taking a pause and brain dumping everything that I think I need to do based on all my different schedules really helps me set the tone for the day. And I found that that was really helping me with my anxiety, because when my plate is loaded, which happens often, for me, it's very easy for me to feel overwhelmed and start to panic and feel paralyzed. So this is one thing that I know I can for sure do every day, regardless of how busy it is. And it just kind of sets me up in a better mood. So that's this insert. And then my last insert is just a sticker release paper. It is where I house a lot of stickers and scrap washi tape. So this is a fun book. I like it. So that's my traveler's notebook. So I'm going to take out my health and wellness, and we will take a quick look. I actually moved into this in December, and if you're curious about how I set it up, I will link the setup video and my thought process for how I decided what to track and include in this book in the description. I have yet to do anything with this page, which is fine. On this page, I've been recording my steps, and I am thinking about either highlighting them depending on ranges. So I am using a water resistant ink here, or I'm thinking about maybe adding in here the high of the month, the low of the month, possibly the weekly average, although that might get messy depending on, I don't know if you heard that, but that was my dog. It might get messy depending on trying to figure out the different weeks. So I might do like a monthly average. I'm not too sure yet, but that's what I'm thinking for this page. These next two pages I am going to have to blur out because I have names on it. But essentially, I've been using the monthly to note down interactions that I have had mainly with family and friends, not including my partner because I see him every day. This includes anything like in-person interactions and trying to remind myself to have human interaction on a regular basis. And so this is a nice way for me to track and make sure that I am getting that social connection that I know is good for my mental health. I really like how this is working out, and I don't think I'm really going to add anything more to this page. Maybe I will decorate these pages after the months are over, but in the interest of making this very quick and easy and low effort to complete, I don't want to put any kind of pressure on myself to decorate, because being the perfectionist that I am, it is really hard for me to relax about decorating my pages. I'm always worried about them looking perfect, and it just becomes a bit of a time suck for me. So I'm leaving them all blank, and I'm just gonna let myself decorate it if I feel like it, or I'll just slap random stickers on. I don't know, but anyway, that's December. And we just completed the first week of January, so overall, not too bad. I'm interested to see how this looks over time, and hopefully we don't have too many empty weeks. On to the weekly views. So I moved into this book in December of last year. So I've already done the month of December. I basically have experimented with pretty much the same layout, but just different ways of setting it up. But what I've done is I've been tracking the weather on the far right column. I'm tracking my mood in the middle, and I started adding some additional descriptors when I felt like it. I have decided to use a star system just because I thought it was pretty, and I've been drawing in the weather as well as adding in the high and the average of the day. On the right side, on this week, I had been putting what I was feeling, but in other weeks I changed that up a little bit and decided that I could combine the mood rating and the feelings in one column, and then I turned this into a bit of a notes column if I felt like adding anything. In terms of my habit tracker, I have the few habits that I had decided on in the setup video. And it's just a really simple, did I do it? Did I not? And of course I can always add more as the year goes on, but this is the baseline that I started with. And for the most part, I was mainly concerned about whether I did it or not, as opposed to going overboard with detail, because that all exists in different apps and different places if I care to get that detail in the future. The two graphs that I thought would be interesting to see a visual of are sleep and mood. So as you can see here, I started to not do very well with sleep. I think I had a few nights where I stayed up really late, and that was not the best. So it was actually really good to see how it kind of went from like getting almost 9 hours of sleep one day to 5. That was really interesting. And then I just decided to track my mood based on a 5-point system. I mean, it kind of works the same way. It's really just this data over here, but I didn't feel like drawing faces here, and I didn't feel like drawing all the stars on the side. So maybe it's a little inconsistent, but essentially it's a 5-point scale. And so I pretty much kept the same layout for the remainder of the month. I continued drawing my weather. I continued rating my mood, and then I added some notes and my habits. On this week, I added a couple of reflections, and then I just kept going with it. And so you can see there's some empty space, and that's fine. And I actually kind of like how this turned out. I don't know what was going on here, but I just think this is so interesting to see this wild variation. Oh, this was the week that I was off work, so that does make sense because I didn't have to wake up at a certain time. So I think that's what was going on over there. And I can already see things like I'm barely getting any strength training in, which is obviously not ideal. Running is something that feels more natural to me, and I don't have as much difficulty getting started, but strength training in general, I really struggle with. So I think I can see already that I'm going to need to put a lot more effort into that as the year goes on. Then I thought it would be interesting to try drawing my weather states with a water-resistant pen so that I could experiment with using ink to color them in, or watercolor or marker. We'll see how this goes. I mean, overall, I've been keeping up with this on a daily basis. I had thought that I might struggle with keeping this up, but it's just been so easy to maintain that as soon as I sit down at my desk in the morning, I just open up this book, and it's like a really quick win where I can feel like I've checked something off the list of things that need to be done, and it's so simple and it's so pleasurable that this is doing exactly what I was hoping it would do. And I'm also happy that for the most part, all of these things that I'm tracking, I have a backup plan for those days where I know this is coming. We're at the beginning of the year. Of course, I'm motivated to be updating this every day, but I know myself, and I know there's probably going to come a time at some point in the year where I fall behind. And I'm pretty sure, aside from things like mood, I will be able to batch update a lot of these things if I need to. So we'll see how consistent I am, but it's nice to know that if I'm not, I can always access this information, which kind of makes it feel there's less pressure to do it. I haven't really added too much in the back here yet. I've just added a couple of TV shows that we've watched since the new year started, movies, and I've kept some of my notes from my setup here so that if anything comes up and I need to recall them, they are ready to go. And yeah, I guess actually I should update my friend log. That's something that I could do. So I forgot about that. And since we are in this book, I think I'll go ahead and share a little bit about the celebration that I want to do. In my setup video for this health and wellness tracker, I mentioned that I had tried to participate in InCoWriMo last year, and I did not make it very far. InCoWriMo stands for International Correspondence Writing Month, and the idea is that you write a handwritten letter, note, or postcard to someone different for every day of the month in February. So this year, I guess there'll be 29 days. I first heard about InCoWriMo from a local stationery shop, and I just thought it was the best idea because I already send letters in the mail to family and friends. I got really excited at participating in it, and I made this whole long list of people that I was planning on sending letters to, and then unfortunately February turned out to be a much busier month than expected. It was also a tumultuous month for me personally, and it was just something that I could not keep up. After researching this a little bit more, just to understand a little bit more about it, I did come across 2 different one letter for every day of the month type challenges out there. There might be more, but the 2 that I came across were InCoWriMo and one called LetterMo. So I will leave links to both of those challenges in the description in case you'd like to check either of them out. But from what I could see, it's the same idea. For the month of February, you are sending out a letter to somebody for every day of the month. I think with InCoWriMo, you can add your address onto the comments page of the site, and whoever sees the address, they can send a letter to that person. I didn't personally feel comfortable sharing my address publicly like that. I'm not participating in like the official InCoWriMo, but that's the idea. And in the spirit of hitting 1,000 subscribers, I wanted to do something to celebrate because I'm so grateful for all of you that have engaged in my content and left me comments and suggestions. And yeah, I'm so grateful, and I thought it would be really fun to write letters and to send them out to you. So if you're interested in receiving a letter or a postcard in the mail from me, I've included a link to a Google form where you can sign up and share your mailing address with me so I can send you something in the mail. Please know that my only intention of collecting your mailing address is just to spread some love in the mail. So I will only be using your address this one time to send you a letter. I won't be sharing your information with anyone else, and I will delete all of your personal information after the month is over. There aren't any hidden strings. I'm not collecting it because I'm going to send you an email later or I'm going to send you lots of mail later. All I'm asking is that you share a mailing address that I can send something to. I will send it to anywhere in the world because it's just going to be like a letter mail, so it's not going to be a package or anything like that. Basically, that's it. I will link the Google form in the description. I did add a couple of fun questions in there just in case I decide to include a couple of fun things in the letter. I don't know how many people will be interested and comfortable sharing their address with me. I would totally understand if you didn't want to. But if you did, that's what I would like to do to thank you and to celebrate hitting 1,000 subscribers. So yeah, that's my little idea. I'm excited to write you some letters. So that's the health and wellness tracker. Okay, I'm gonna move on into the meal planning tracker now. This one will be really quick. I've gone through this several times on my channel and I've already done my planning for the next 2 weeks. So we will make this quick, hopefully. I will include links in my description to other videos related to the setup of this and a little more detail about my meal planning process in general. It's still working really well for me. So the monthly, I'm still using it for grocery shops and different events like date nights. There is one coming up soon, hopefully, so I'm excited about that. And then in the weeklies, I've been experimenting with writing my thoughts down when I go to a restaurant and adding a little bit of a rating and some stickers. My approach with all of these planning Hobonichi Weeks is I'm not prioritizing any kind of decoration just because I really want these books to be like focus on the task at hand and remove as many distractions as possible until the task is done. And then after the fact, if I feel like adding things into these blank spaces, then I can, but there's no pressure on myself to do it like in real time, if that makes sense. And I do have a bunch of fruit and vegetable stickers that I got last year. You might have seen them right here. They're not my favorite, so I've just been adding them where I feel like it to fill up space. So you might see those slapped around, and it just made sense to have the fruit and veg in this book. So I had an unexpected trip to Costco last week and I had like an impromptu Costco list. Dinner, we are currently in the second week of January and pretty much everything went to plan according to this, although there was one emergency trip to the grocery store because we ran out of carrots and onions. In terms of the next 2 weeks, same process as always. I wrote down all of the events that might interfere with dinner time or cooking time. I wrote down what I knew we already had. I kind of jotted down some ideas throughout the week that I thought we could think about for the next 2 weeks. So these past 2 weeks were very stew and soup heavy, which is great because it's winter, but I ended up adding in a couple of different things. So like shrimp tacos, a salmon and soba noodle meal, and like a bolognese. So we'll do a bolognese and pasta on a Sunday, and then I'm going to use the leftovers to make lasagna the next day. We've got our shopping list. So that's the shopping. And then really quickly, I did want to share something. In my last video, I had asked for suggestions on what to do with some of the default collection type pages in the Hobonichi Weeks because I never feel like I know what to do with them. So, for my 100, I had mentioned that I was thinking about doing favorite meals by season. So that I have already gone ahead and done. So I've got some winter meals, summer meals, autumn, that kind of thing. And a few of you left some amazing suggestions on how I could use the 365 days checkoff. And my favorite idea was to note down what meals were cooked, what meals were leftovers, what meals were from a restaurant, takeout, that kind of thing. I got so excited about that idea. And when I went to implement that into this book, it turns out that the Japanese version of the Hobonichi Weeks, which this is, so this one is the English version, this is the Japanese. I don't really know why I bought the Japanese version. I knew that I was making that decision, but I don't know, I guess I just thought it would be maybe interesting to compare the two, and then I kind of forgot to compare the two. Just so you know, there's no 365 day checkoff in this page. So after having gone through this period of excitement and feeling like I've got this great idea and it feels like totally doable and I've got all the information in other places, so it'll be easy to batch update, I was so sad that it wasn't there. So I thought, how hard could it be to recreate it? Turns out pretty hard. So I used the English version as kind of a guide, but as you can see here, it looks like a grid, and it's done so well. And here, if you look at it up close, it's like not perfect circles. It's pretty bad. I'm a little embarrassed. I even messed up some of the numbers at a certain point. It was a little bit of a mess, but I think what kind of saves it is I drew these little icons. So I've got one for cooking, one for leftovers, one for eating at family and friends, takeout, like when we order delivery or takeout, and if we go out to eat at a restaurant. I drew this with my platinum carbon black, and I picked a few neutral markers instead of really bright ones, because even though this looks not so great right now, I think when this whole page is filled out, I'm going to appreciate seeing more neutral colors as opposed to like an entire neon page of really bright colors. So it's definitely messy and some people might hate it, but I've made it now. I'm committed to it, and I'm gonna fill it out, and I hope it doesn't look terrible when it's all said and done. I saw often from Yoseka Stationery recreate the 366 days on his own journal for 2024, except his looks way better, and he used a marker cap, I believe, from a Tombow marker to create like perfect circles. And I thought about doing that, but there was no way that I was going to be able to fit all of this on one page. And I did consider spreading it out onto 2 pages, and then I didn't do it. This is where we ended up. I decided to freehand it, and it was kind of a mistake. So if I ever have to recreate a page like this again, I'll try to be smarter about it. But anyway, that's my meal tracker, and I thought I would share this update because I was excited to share it, even though it looks like a giant mess. So the final one that I'll go over now is my home and garden. I haven't done anything with this page. If you have any ideas, let me know. I will also continue to brainstorm. The monthly is working out okay. I did start using this book in December, and I blocked off certain days when we focused on a home project, and then I kept this part of the bottom left hand of the calendar to talk about project focus. And here I was thinking about putting things that I had coming up for that month. I also have a couple of things related to the home, so it is sparse, and again, I might decorate at some point, but I want to keep this as functional as possible. We recently had someone come and help us with our bathtub, and we recently had a car service, so I'm just using this to note down like things related to our home and I guess our car. And I do have plans to do a retro on our garden from last year, and I'm gonna sit down with my partner and do a rough plan for our garden coming up this year so we can be a little more prepared for it. So that's something that I'm planning on doing in a few weeks, and that might make this planner a little more exciting. But right now it's really just been a place to like log and track things. And I guess to be fair, I have been enjoying it. Maybe it's more that I haven't really been doing a lot of chores around the house, and that's making me feel bad. But in December, I wrote down everything that we were doing around the house, and it kind of became like a fun way to get a feel for all the things that we were doing. For example, when I called a contractor to get a quote on something that we needed help with, this is the place where I put all my notes down. So I did find this notes page extremely helpful for those moments where I just needed to write things down on things that I knew that I might be referring back to in the future specific to our home. This was a really busy week, so we didn't really do anything around the house. I started writing down some of the things that we were spending money on related to one of the projects that we focused on in December. We did a lot this week because we were both home and we were off work. So this was kind of a busy home week. And then here, just more things that we did around the home. And now we're in January, so this is where things started to get a little more interesting, because in December I had been logging all these things, but the task log that I had set up, I had specifically set it up to start in January. And so what I started doing is, if I did a task like cleaning the toilets, I had it noted down as an item here, and I've got, is it a recurring? Yes. This column might be a bit pointless because I think all of these chores are going to be recurring. So, you know, maybe in the next page when I make this, I won't need to have this. The effort level. So for the toilets, I've got 3 because we have 2 to clean. Mike and I sat down and determined frequency. So we decided that we would do a deep clean bi-weekly. Anytime I did something, either in December or January, I would note it down as a task, and then we would sit down together and decide how frequently we should be doing those tasks. Like, for example, our bath towels we're changing weekly, and then as soon as that task gets done, it gets logged in here. Over time, I'm just adding to this list, we're logging it, and yeah, I'm excited to continue this at the minimum for Q1. And then at the end of March, I will determine if it's worth doing the same kind of tracking log system or if I can do something else. But for now, this has been working really well in helping me be a little more aware of what we're doing and just keeping on top of making sure that they happen more regularly than they were before. And then this week we also had to take our car in for a really big service, and the amount of work that had to be done was kind of appalling. So I wrote down everything that they supposedly did, and we shouldn't have to do another one of these like full services for another few years, but I just thought it would be interesting information in case we ever needed to refer to it. And then this week I started to be a little more proactive with my planning. I already had tasks that on the chores log I knew needed to happen this week. So for example, we changed the napkins at the final week of December. So if we want to do that bi-weekly and it wasn't done last week, I knew that I wanted to get it done this week. And so I put those down under this week here, and as they happened I was able to mark them down here. If I had a better sense of what needs to be done around the home, I probably won't have to do this kind of like back and forth planning. But as I mentioned in my setup video, this whole world of getting clear on what needs to be done is kind of like foreign to me, as embarrassing as that sounds. And so I kind of knew that this was going to be a little bit of a discovery and planning combo for this year. But my hope is that I don't really have to go through this effort of like consciously noting down everything that we're doing in the future, because we'll have a list to work off of in the future. So in terms of the notes pages, I've got my chores log, got my home project log. So just anything that I want to do around the home, I note it down in here. And I note down the estimated effort level, when it started, when it finished, and then just some extra notes. And then the remaining notes pages are just for helping me to plan out upcoming projects. So for example, like I know I want to do a bathroom makeover soon. I've already started to get supplies for it. I've got some ideas, so I'm just jotting that all down here. And then at some point I'll probably put a rough schedule, and when it's time to start this, I will shift it over to the monthly and make that the project focus. So I haven't decided what I'm going to focus on in January because there's a lot of change happening in my life this month. So I may not do anything around the house, to be honest, but we are doing small declutter things, so maybe that's worth noting down. This was our closet shelves project. It was pretty short, but I kind of have the goal of why we're doing it in the first place. I wrote out the different steps that I could think that we needed to do, and then I estimated the effort. I wrote down when we started it, when we officially finished it, and then any learnings we had as we were working on this project. I just noted them down here because if we ever want to build shelves anywhere else in our home and we want to use the same rail bracket system, this is a place where I can refer to so that we don't make the same mistakes again. And another project that I want to hopefully do in the next month or so is an office refresh, because apart from the kitchen, it's our most used room. So the goals of the office are more storage, more cohesion, and a big declutter, which is kind of related to having more storage. So I've got some ideas on paint colors and storage options, and then I've also sketched out a couple of options that I've had in the back of my mind for adding storage to the office. So yeah, I'm really happy with having these notes pages and being able to plan projects like this. This is kind of what I was hoping to use this book for, and it is a little slower because these projects have to get slotted in between like work and school, but it's good to have a place to at least do the planning. And you know, I do have a lot of ideas, so it's nice to just get it all down on one page, and then I can take my time thinking about it. I can show Mike what I have in mind, and eventually if I wanted to, I could add like inspo photos here if I so wanted to. And I feel like there are enough notes pages that I can add to it as time goes on. All right. So that's my update on my different trackers. I know it looks like a lot, but they all have their own specific purposes, and I'm enjoying just being able to pick each of them up and focus on the one thing. And I'm excited to see how things look as the year goes on. Maybe I will completely fall off one or two of these books, but so far this is working really well in my personal TN. This fits really well in my purse, so it's really easy to take this with me when I'm traveling. And then this one lives in my kitchen, so this has been really great because Mike knows that this is where our meal plans are, and we have a whiteboard on our fridge where we write out our meals that are planned for that week so that we both know exactly what to expect. And it was so cute. The other day, Mike actually referenced this book and wrote on the whiteboard for me. And I just think the fact that he's gotten on board with this book and he knows where to reference it, it makes me really happy. So I'm happy to continue having this in a separate book because it is meant for the two of us really to be referencing. And then same with the home. When we were working on the closet project, for example, I was noting down a lot of things in this book and I was able to show it to Mike. And because I get super distracted when I'm on Pinterest, or it's so easy when you're looking at home inspiration to get distracted. And I just find if I tried to do this kind of planning online, I would 100% just get distracted and like I would never make any plans happen. So I like having an analog book to do that kind of planning in. Whether it needs to be a dated notebook is something I'll have to think about for the future, because maybe it makes more sense just in a plain notebook. But I like the aspect of being able to plan projects throughout a month so that I don't end up starting 3 different projects all at once and, you know, overwhelming myself with half-finished projects. So I don't know. We'll see how it goes. Anyway, that brings me to the end of this video. If you'd like to join me in celebrating hitting 1,000 subscribers recently and would like to receive a letter in the mail from me, then check out the description below for a link to a Google form where I will collect your mailing address to send you something in the mail in the month of February to thank you for being here and subscribing to my channel. If you have any questions, feel free to leave them in the comments below. Otherwise, I hope you're doing well and that your January is off to a good start. I'd love to know how things are going in your respective planner systems. Are you in one book? Are you in multiple books? Let me know. I'd love to hear it. I could honestly talk about planners and journals all day long. If you're still here, thank you so much for still being here. I appreciate you so much, and I will see you soon in the next video.